What's up, everybody? Brady Fior coming at you with my 10 most anticipated albums of 2025. As we roll into the new year here, I kind of just want to get my anticipations out so that when these albums do eventually drop, it might be kind of cool to look back and see what I was hoping for from. I wanted to do somewhat of a combination of albums that have already been announced that will be released early in the year, as well as albums that we know are being worked on. And there's even like an album or two in here that are a little bit more of a prediction, which is another reason I want to do this video because I'm fully standing by these predictions that I will do. And when they do happen and when these albums do get dropped, I'm going to say I fucking called it. So let's get right into it. These albums aren't in any particular order, just 10 anticipated albums. Starting first with Tremonti's album that will be out January 10th, The End Will Show Us How. I really wasn't sure what to expect from Tremonti's next album after I wasn't really big on Marching in Time in 2021, but based on the singles that have been released so far from this album, it's given me some really high hopes. And I say that for two reasons. The first reason being that musically and instrumentally, they just sound a lot more refined, they sound more technical, they sound more inspired. A track like The Mother, the Earth, and I, the second single, has a really awesome emphasis on mood that I enjoy, and the other singles have elements that do that pretty well also. But also, this is the first taste of Tremonti music we're hearing since Mark has done the Sinatra stuff and the Christmas album, which really saw him growing and maturing as a vocalist. And in these songs, it is clear that he is a much more confident vocalist. He sounded good on the Tremonti record so far, but he always did have that little bit of just unassumingness, I guess if that's a word. And it was clear to me that listening to these songs now, listening to those albums, that he was a guitarist doing vocals. Now on these songs, he sounds like a fucking vocalist, and he sounds awesome. Next, an album that actually drops on the exact same day as the Tremonti album that will be for any melodic death metal fans, the Halo Effect with their second album, March of the Unheard. This band is literally just old members of In Flames making music that sounds like old In Flames. What more could you ask for as an In Flames fan and as a Melodeath fan? And again, the singles have been kicking ass so far. I'm so mad that I didn't talk about the title track in my, I think, October or November video. I just completely forgot to mention it. But again, these songs, just as a melodic death metal fan, you could not ask for more from these songs. They are aggressive, they're heavy, but they're triumphant. And again, there is that good emphasis on mood, but not in a way that takes away from the instrumental. There's some wonderful melodies in these tracks so far, like the first single, Detonate, which I talked about, I think, in my September video. Best Songs of the Month has that awesome, like, pulsating main riff that kind of throws things back to Freefall off of In Flames' Reroute to Remain. Michael Stine's vocals sound awesome. They're really impactful. I think this will be a strong contender for Melodic Death Metal Album of the Year. Next up, just a clear pick for me, just based on rhythm, that they drop an album every 3 years. My personal favorite band, Alter Bridge. With them, it's pretty much clockwork at this point. Every 3 years, they put out an album, usually around the fall season. And much like that, this year they've already announced they're going into the studio, so I'm confident we will get an album from them. And just like very simply, they're just my favorite band. And if I'm expecting an album from my favorite band any year, it will automatically be a most anticipated album, although I'm not exactly sure what to expect from it. Because Walk the Sky kind of experimented a little bit more, and then Pawns and Kings kind of saw them retracing their steps and going for more of that Last Hero type sound, but making it much more refined, if you ask me. So I'm not sure. I mean, are they going to experiment? Are they going to stick to their tried and true sound yet again? I'm not sure, but either way, I'm sure it'll be awesome. Now, this fourth album is the biggest stretch on this list. It is totally a prediction, especially because it's been talked about for like the last 2 years now, but I'm confident that 2025 will be the year we get a new Mudvayne album. It's been 15 years since they released their polarizing self-titled album in 2009, and a few years now that they have reunited as a band and started touring again. They've been saying since 2023 that they've been working on new material, and it just only makes sense to me, and I think this album is really going to be a hit among original nu metal fans, because Mudvayne definitely has kind of been retconned as one of like the standouts of the nu metal era, although based on commercial success, they really weren't. Musically, though, I think they were always very different and much more interesting than a lot of other nu metal bands, bringing in lots of like mathy, odd time rhythm stuff that I thought was really good. I've always really liked Chad Gray's vocals as well. So I'm really excited to hear this album that I am confidently predicting we will get. You heard it here first. And when I review this album, which will drop in 2025, I will be referencing this video and I will put a link in the description to it, and I will say, hey, skip to 4 minutes into this video and see me predict that we will get a new Mudvayne album. But anyways, next up, Deftones. I totally think we'll get a new Deftones album this year. It will be 5 years since Ohms was put out last. And again, really not sure what to expect as far as style for this album. Because again, Gore was a bit more experimental, a bit more laid back. And then Ohms kind of saw them going back to their signature sound again with elements of kind of every era of Deftones' music. I personally like when Deftones goes more on like the spacey, shoegazy type sound. My favorite Deftones album personally is 2012's Koi no Yokan. So that might give you some reference as far as what I want to hear from it. But for me, every album since 2010's Diamond Eyes has been amazing. Number 6, Slipknot. And the reason I'm putting Slipknot on this list is because, one, they've been saying they're working on new music for, again, a little while now. And I think Clown went on record saying it'll come earlier than we expect it to be. So, again, calling it now, new Slipknot 2025. But I'm dying to hear new Slipknot material with their new drummer, Eloy Casagrande, formerly of Sepultura. There's been several instances recently where a band gets a new drummer and it just injects all of this life into their music, and they put out such a banger album. It happened with Trivium in 2017 with In a Sentence. Recently, it happened with In Flames with Foregone a couple years ago now. I just want to hear new Slipknot with a whole new element of energy and life injected in them. And I think Eloy on the drums is the perfect person to do that. For that reason, I would love to hear them go a bit more extreme. I think it'd be awesome if nearly 30 years into their career, they put out like their heaviest and most extreme album to date. Number 7 is another one of my favorite bands that I'm expecting an album from this year and hoping that we get an album from, Thrice. I have absolutely loved their last 5 albums now, but especially Palms of 2018 and 2021's Horizons East, which is supposed to be a double album. I mean, they have been talking about Horizons West for a while, but it's been a few years now. I'm sure they've been recording for quite a while, and it wouldn't surprise me if the album was already completed considering how long it's been. And just this upward trajectory that Thrice has been on with these albums, I'm so excited to hear what they have in store next. Number 8, Hatebreed. I've been wanting a new Hatebreed album for so long now, especially considering like Weight of the False Self kind of disappointed me a little bit. It just felt a little uninspired. But before that, I mean, The Concrete Confessional was probably my favorite Hatebreed album, and The Divinity of Purpose before that is awesome as well. I want some new gym fuel music, and Hatebreed is just that for me. They're the perfect band to listen to when I just want to be angry and get in the zone and fucking lift some weights or go running or something like that. Couple that with Jamie Joss's often poetic lyrics, but also very aggressive and dark and in-your-face lyrics, like we saw in Concrete Confession. That's what I want to hear from new Hatebreed. I think I still enjoy it when it's more like lively and infectious and inspiring and uplifting, but I like when they go dark. Number 9 is Breaking Benjamin, a band that I grew up on that we haven't heard new music from in going on 7 years now, although they did drop that single this year. That was a little mixed up. Again, I just want to hear new Breaking Benjamin, and judging by this single, it feels like they're going to kind of take their sound and incorporate more modern influences in it. Like I said in either my track review or like my Songs of the Month video, that it utilized like the Octane Core formula, which normally is something I strongly dislike, but for the most part, I think it kind of worked for them. It made them sound a lot more fresh. I think if they came back after this huge hiatus with something that could have sounded like right off of Dark Before Dawn or right off of one of their older albums, it wouldn't have had that same impact. Having clear progression in a band's catalog is a wonderful thing. And I personally oftentimes enjoy that more than when bands just recycle the same sound over and over. So I'm hoping to hear some more modern influences in this new Breaking Benjamin album, which I think they have gone on record saying will be out in 2025. And then finally, another one of my favorite bands and another album that has been announced already, Killswitch Engage with This Consequence. I think it's out February 21st. It's been 5.5 long years since Atonement, and Killswitch Engage is one of my favorite bands of all time. Much like I just said about Breaking Benjamin, their new single Forever Line definitely has their tried and true sound, but does have a few hints of modern influence, and that's what I want to hear from them. I want to hear them pushing their sound in new direction with this album, at least to some extent. I think a greater emphasis on hardcore elements would be awesome. Some more like spiritual and profound lyrics like we saw in Incarnate would be awesome from Jesse Lee. But this is another album where no matter what it sounds like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to like it. Anyways, that's all I have for you guys today. Leave your most anticipated albums of the year in the comment section. And thank you for watching. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.